My name is Jerry Shockey. I oversee all the youth and educational programs here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, and we're excited to have you guys in here, and especially looking at the groups that I have. I'm seeing three newbies, three of them that are new to the program, or two, I should say. So it's good to have our veterans back as well as the new folks in here. But for those of you that are new, and obviously probably most likely all the students are new, because even the repeat groups obviously bring in new crops of students for each of these programs. The real idea and premise behind this is to convey what it took to get into the Hall of Fame beyond just the athletic ability. And, you know, again, as I always say, we know our Hall of Famers are awesome examples of athleticism, skill, talent, all those sorts of things. But there's a lot of people in this world that have skill and talent in football, but you don't see them make it into the NFL. You especially don't see them making it into the Hall of Fame. So what separates those? And that's what we're here to talk about today is how they separate themselves. It took more than just the athletic ability to be enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It took a number of character qualities, but we'll sum them up in the 6 pillars that you guys are studying: trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship, and again, a whole lot of others. And I always pretend like it's a secret, but it's not really a secret. These aren't character qualities just to being a good football player. These are character qualities to being a Hall of Famer in everyday life. The best student, the best brother or sister, the best person at your house, the best person at your Boy Scouts or YMCA or church group or whoever you might be involved with. They're going to continue to allow you to continue to be successful throughout in life if you just keep holding true to those core characters that you have. So with that being said, what I would like to do is recognize the schools that are participating and also some of the folks that help make this program possible. First of all, I'd like to thank Extreme Networks, our partners, our educational partners here in Canton, Ohio. Extremes all across the country. Gene Nicholson, Gene's in the background there with Jim, with Mr. Langer. There's a hand. Thank you, Gene. I've known Gene for a couple years now, and just an awesome person. So an awesome organization too. So thank you, Gene, for helping facilitate this. Hennepin Tech College that's actually hosting him. So thank you, Hennepin Tech, Brian Allen there. Thank you very much for making the arrangements on your end to open up your facility to Mr. Langer. We obviously, as always, like to thank the teachers, because obviously the teachers have been prepping the students, have done got them out of class if they need to move class, just made all the arrangements to make this happen. So thank you, teachers, very much for all your continued work in support of our Hall of Fame educational programs. And then last but not least, the students, because again, as I always say, you guys are the stars of the show. And so you're going to be driving the program today. I have some opening remarks as I'm sharing. Mr. Langer will have a few minutes opening remarks, and we're going to go off the Q&A after that and feed off of the questions that you guys have and about character and things like that. But I would like to recognize those schools that are in attendance. And when I do, if you want to feel free to go ahead and unmute your microphone and give a shout out, that would be great. So we'll start with Wisconsin, Westfield Middle School.
Hey!
All right, thank you, Westfield, one of our dedicated groups that tune in for these. Thank you very much. And I don't see them, but let me just make sure. I do not see them. So, and actually they're canceled today, I'm sorry. We did supposed to have Altitude Academy here in Canton, Ohio, connecting in. I don't see Indian Knoll Elementary School in Canton, Georgia, but we will go to East, I'm going to mispronounce it, East Aaron, go ahead, somebody just pronounce it for me. Rochester, New York.
East Irondequoit Middle School.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. If you want to go ahead and mute there, and I'll just ask you guys, I'll just say Rochester School, because I'm going to butcher that name the whole time. So thank you very much, East Middle School. We'll go to Troy, Idaho, Troy High School. A lot easier to say. And I think Troy, if I'm not mistaken, Troy, okay, you're still waiting for students to come in. If you can, I see some teachers in the back there. If you can give me a thumbs up or a wave, I see some. Okay, so you're listening. Okay, they're just waiting for the students to come in. They're getting a couple minutes, started a couple minutes late. But last but definitely not least, we're going to go to Colorado, South Park, and okay, thank you, Fair Play. Thank you very much. Well, let me get to the introduction of our featured speaker. And just a reminder, you guys have all been doing a great job. Keep your microphones muted until We go to Q&A until we call upon your school. And even after you ask your question, just so we can eliminate any background noise while Mr. Langer is giving his response, please make sure to mute your microphone immediately following. So with that being said, let me get to the introduction of our featured speaker, and that's Pro Football Hall of Famer, Mr. Jim Langer. He signed as a free agent in 1970. So think about that. Wasn't a first-round draft pick, wasn't a second-round draft pick. We automatically think, you know, to be in the Hall of Fame, you got to be a first-rounder. Obviously not the case. He signed as a free agent in 1970. He became a starter and played every offensive down in the perfect 1972 season. You guys familiar with the 72 Dolphins? You've heard about them, the only undefeated, right? You saw a few years ago, Tom Brady, they went undefeated regular season. Unfortunately, they lost that big one at the end called the Super Bowl. So no offense to any Patriots fans. I'm not making fun of them. I'm just stating what's obvious. When he needed help, now get this, in that season, he only needed help on just 3 of 500 blocking assignments. That's amazing. That is truly amazing. Lauded for professional, no-frills demeanor, hardworking, quick, low-driving blocker, rarely made a mistake, first-team All-Pro 4 times, All-AFC 5 straight years, played in 3 AFC title games, 3 Super Bowls, and 6 Pro Bowls. Now, that's a little bit about his on the field, and obviously the biggest achievement, arguably at least for an individual player, is he was enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1987. But let's look at his off the field, because I think you'll find it just as remarkable as his on the field things that he's done. First of all, this to me is the most amazing thing. As a guy that's been married for 9 years and knows the ups and downs with marriage, he has been married for 46 years. And I applauded him earlier, and I'm going to applaud him again, because that is unless you're married, you wouldn't understand. But anyhow, 46 years of marriage. He has 4 children: Tracy, Carrie, Craig, and Russell, all graduates of his alma mater, South Dakota State University. Towards the tail end of his career, he started in commercial banking and continued that all the way past his 10 years past his career. And from 1989 to present, he's been in the light truck equipment supply and install business. And since 2004, he's been the owner of a company called Custom Trucks Accessories. His hobbies include muskie fishing with his son, Craig. Any muskie fishers out there, depending on where you're at? We don't really have muskie here in Northeast Ohio, but got to go to Canada for that for us. But anyhow, and past items of interest that I think is really neat. Not only is he a football player, a business owner, he's a licensed pilot. So I mean, it just keeps going on and on. Retired captain, U.S. Army Reserve. And then I think this really speaks to Mr. Langer and a lot of our Hall of Famers that people don't realize, because we always see a lot of the bad things that players do, and those get promoted through the media and things, because that's what we digest as consumers of information. But more often than not, what you'll find are guys just like Mr. Langer. And listen to this, he's a past member of the Central Minnesota Boy Scouts of America, Big Brothers and Big Sisters of St. Cloud, Minnesota, and the American Red Cross of St. Cloud. So that speaks to, when we're talking about the pillars, the caring and the citizenship and those sorts of things. So with that being said, before we ask Mr. Langer to share his opening remarks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share screen here real quick, and we are going to show a quick highlight film of Mr. Langer.
If Hall of Fame quarterback Len Dawson could pick one legendary player to start a team, his choice might come as a bit of a surprise.
Well, I'd naturally pick somebody that's going to protect me very well, and I'd probably start with the center position. Jim Langer is a great center. I'd pick that guy because a quarterback and a center, they get rather intimate, and so I'd want that guy to be somebody that I felt very comfortable with.
Jim Langer made his quarterbacks feel comfortable for 12 seasons in the NFL. The first 10 with the Miami Dolphins in the 1970s. Langer was a no-frills, quick, low-driving blocker, and he helped the Dolphins' running game power Miami to back-to-back Super Bowl titles. An undrafted free agent who was cut by the Browns as a rookie, Langer went on to 6 Pro Bowls, and in 1972, he played every offensive down in the Dolphins' perfect season. They were one of the greatest teams of all time, and at the center of it all was a little-known Hall of Famer named Jim Langer.
Okay, with that being said, if you all will unmute your microphones for a second and join me in giving a warm round of applause to Pro Football Hall of Famer, Mr. Jim Langer. And if we go ahead and mute everywhere, and Mr. Langer, I've got your microphone open, so it's open to you for your opening remarks.
Thank you, Jerry. It's a pleasure to be with you. This is quite a unique experience for me. First time I've ever done one of these, but I enjoy talking to our young people. As you mentioned, my wife and I, Lynn, have raised our 4 children. I'm very much in favor of the basic parameters we're going to talk about today. They're very important to me. I would like the youngsters out there, our young people, our leaders for tomorrow, to feel when we get to that point to ask me any question. You will find me to be quite frank, straightforward. I'm a pretty basic individual myself, but I do appreciate the pillars of characters you've laid out here. I'm going to give you folks something you don't see very often to look at. The 6 pillars of character, to me, I have always described my life as, and individuals I've come to know as, what is their compass? This is an old military grade compass. It always points north. Today, in our world of high technology, of course, we have GPS and all that stuff. But for years and years and years, people navigated by a compass. And what I would like you to think about as we wrap this program up at the end of our program today is, if you look at the 6 pillars of character, I would put a parenthesis around all 6 of those, which are all very important, and call the entire 6 my moral compass. And when you think about a compass, think about, am I heading in the right direction? And it will always point north. In my comparison here, north means, am I doing the right thing? And if you think about that, it will help you kind of put into a graphic term what we're talking about, I think, because I talk about people's moral compass. Very important to me and to my family. So I'm very excited to be with you, and be glad to answer the best I can any questions for you, very straight and honest.
And thank you, Mr. Langer. And students, just so you know, if you see me fumbling around over here, there's 2 things that I have going on behind the scenes. One is I take notes from this because I can apply. And you see I have my pen handy. I constantly learn. So 36 years old, I'll continue learning. I'm sure Mr. Langer, being in his, I think, mid-60s, can tell you he's still learning. So we're always learning. So I'm always taking notes. It doesn't stop just because you're sitting outside of the classroom. But number 2, I also get emails and texts from all those participating saying, hey, this is going on or this isn't going on. So I have to serve as moderator / technical coordinator. So if you see me glancing down for a minute as well, Mr. Langer, to you, I'm not being rude. Hopefully it may appear that way, but just trying to get things taken care of so all of our students are enjoying the program and able to connect in. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in the order of Westfield Middle School. I did get an email from Indian Knoll, so they should be connected in here just a minute. They're just getting connected in. Rochester, New York, we'll just leave it at that. Troy High School and South Park. We're going to go in that order. And again, we'll go 1 question from each group. We'll go through as many times as we can. I see we've got about 42 minutes is according to my clock. So, and again, just a reminder to make sure that you mute your microphone immediately following, again, so we can eliminate any background noise as Mr. Langer is giving his response. So with that being said, we're going to go to Westfield, Wisconsin. We'll go ahead with the first question of the program.
Who inspired you the most while you were growing up, and why?
Would you repeat it one more time, please?
Who inspired you the most while you were growing up, and why?
My mother. I grew up in a very small town, not unlike probably a lot of some of the students we have all over today. My hometown was 630 people, and we weren't very well off, but my mother always made sure we got off to school on time. We got our work done. We certainly had time. We played very unorganized sports at that time, so Little League baseball, things like that, but she was a pillar of strength. She was always there for us. My father worked very hard, of course, But my mother was absolutely not flexible on your moral compass, as I described earlier, or your character issues, and I took a lot of strength from her. She died at 95 several years ago, but she was a very good woman.
Okay, great question to start off the program, Westfield. So we're going to go because I just got in, I just see them connected, and we're going to go to the next for the questions. And the teacher just texted me and said that they're connected. So we're going to go to Georgia, Canton, Georgia. So from Canton, Ohio to Canton, Georgia. Go ahead, Annie and Noel. And Annie and Noel, if you have a question.
Here we are.
There we go. Perfect.
What does it take to become a pro football player?
Gene?
What does it take to become a pro football player?
Well, that's a very good question. It's a very good question, and I would encourage all young athletes, male and female. It takes a lot of hard work, and I always put that alongside. You also have to make sure you're taking care of the other part of your life. Are you a good student? Are you working as the best you can at your grades, at your studies? Are you being a good person? Because to get to the professional level is a very small segment of athletes make it to that point, people. And like with my 4 children who all graduated from college, when they were growing up, they all played sports. I think sports are important, but they were also on their way to an education because that was more than likely how they were going to define their life. So I think if you want to be a outstanding athlete, number one, you have to have the gift of some athletic ability. There sometimes you can't control that, of course. That doesn't mean you can't play any sport you like and enjoy it. Just play to the best of your ability and realize when you see some of these college and professional athletes playing, there's hours and hours and hours of dedication, of practice on their own, working in the backyard with mom or dad or the neighbors' kids to learn how to skate, catch, hit a baseball, shoot a basketball. A lot of that is time that you must spend on your own.
I've often said that, everybody would love to be a professional football player, or baseball player, professional athlete, whatever, but we'll just say football, for example. Everybody would love to be a professional football player, but on Sunday or Monday night. But if they saw what it took to be a professional football player on Monday through Saturday, they would probably reconsider because of the hard work, the hours spent working out, working on agility, working on strength, working on studying game film, working on just everything. And then on top of that, a lot of these guys have family lives too. I mean, so, and in Mr. Langer's days, many of them worked other jobs.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it is a very stressful, physically demanding job, but a lot of jobs are. I think it has to be a passion. If you talk to most athletes in college even, or varsity athletes in high school, it has to be a passion. The average collegiate athlete spends 40 hours a week just training. Alongside of that now, you also have to be a student. And I can't stress enough, young people that are tuning in here, you have to prepare yourself today. Every day you go into your school to be the best student you can be for your own sake, not for your teacher's sake, not for anybody's sake, but you have to prepare yourself. And it doesn't just all of a sudden one day the light goes on and you graduate from high school and your life starts. You have to prepare every step of the way, and some of the issues in this pillars of character are extremely important. You have to become self-motivated to be the best you can be.
Great point. And so it reminds me of something that Bart Starr just said. We did one with him not too long ago. That the great Vince Lombardi said, it's a unique preparation. So great point. Let's go to Let's go to Rochester. I'll leave it at that. Rochester, go ahead.
What pillars of character helped you to shape your career?
Pillars. What pillars of character help shape your career?
What pillar? Well, I'm going to look here. Responsibility to me is the most important. As a young man, my responsibility was number one, take care of my tasks at home, which were pretty minor. Helped around the house, mow the grass. I was a mass server for 12 years. So I served mass for 12 years, and we had 6:30 mass in the morning, and my mom would make sure I got up and go to mass. That's a responsibility. You can't blow that kind of stuff off, okay? You have to discipline yourself to say, what am I responsible for now? And most of our young people, the number one responsibility is be responsible to your parents and your family. The environment you're in, first and foremost. That means doing your job around your home. And then, of course, your schoolwork. And to me, of the 6 pillars, if you're responsible, you will be trustworthy, okay? If you're responsible, you're going to treat people with respect. All of these things are tied together. So to me, the most important thing is take care of your task. Be responsible for yourself, and you'll be going in the right direction.
Thank you very much. Another great question there, Rochester. Let's go to Idaho, Troy, High School.
That's really close. Good morning. My name is Cheyenne. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Diane? Cheyenne.
So as a child, what events do you believe helped you become the person you are today?
The question was, what events helped me become the person I am?
Yes.
Well, it's a very complex answer to put that all into one. The best advice I can give you, young people, is you go every day, make it the best day you can, okay? You're going to have days that don't go very well. I had those. You're going to fail once in a while. You pick yourself up and you go back at it the next day, and you continually work to be the best person you can be. Remember, we talked about that, whether that's if you're in athletics, if that's in academics. Pay attention as you're going through school. I encourage you to read. And of course, now with the internet and everything that's available online, try and find something that you have an interest in. And it may take a while, but there's not one thing that's going to make you very successful or push you into the top. It's a culmination of a whole series of hard work, listening to people that are working with you, your teachers, your parents, your aunts, your uncles, friends, and picking up what seems to work for you and then making it part of your compass. Remember, I showed you my compass. Always keep in mind, go where that arrow is pointing you in the right direction, and don't get distracted by people that want to take the shortcuts or the easy way. There is no easy way, okay? There is no easy way to become a well-oriented, successful person.
Thank you very much, Troy. Let's go to Colorado, South Park.
Hi, Mr. Linger. I was wondering, do you believe that times have changed from when you played to recent years, or relative to the will to want to play the game, doing it for money?
That's a very good question, and a very perceptive question. The heart and the passion to play football at any level hasn't changed. I had the same passion when 1964 in high school as you, like a center, a young football player. it's going to be the same emotion for you it was for me, okay? Now, the big difference takes place. My first year as a rookie, my salary was $14,000 a year. Today, the average NFL player will spend that at dinner at night once in a while. So I can't relate to that, but I've played and know some great players by virtue of being part of the Hall of Fame, which is a wonderful experience. But when you talk to Joe Green and you talk to Larry Zonka and you talk to Alan Page and you talk to these people, they all say the same thing. Your success and your participation in your school, it was the same for us. It's all relative. The skill in the game, the intensity of the game is pretty much the same. We have some different rules back then than they have today. But essentially that hasn't changed. Football is football, basketball is basketball, and the will to be the best you can be. The great thing that you learn is you're going to lose. You have to give it your best effort. Once in a while, it's not going to turn out, and you learn from that.
And I think you bring up a great point there at the end, Mr. Langer. If you can touch on that a little bit, because we don't always. Obviously, you've been a part of the 72 Dolphins, the perfect season. You've been enshrined in the Hall of Fame. But we don't always, despite how hard we work. And a great example, as I shared with you earlier, is Peyton Manning. There's nobody that works harder than Peyton Manning. And they got, I know Peyton doesn't like the word embarrassed, but they got embarrassed on national TV a little bit to an extent from that block. It's sorry for the Colorado folks. I forgot we got Colorado folks out there. I'm sorry, especially the big guy up front. I don't want you to get mad at me. But that goes to the great point that we don't always, no matter how hard we work, we don't always get an A on the test. We don't always win the Super Bowl. We don't always get the promotion. Mr. Langer, can you speak to that throughout your career?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's a very good observation, Jerry. The first thing that happens if you're the Denver Broncos after the Super Bowl is you feel embarrassed. You let your team down. You let yourself down. There's that rush of emotion you feel when you lose. And I don't care if that's the championship in sixth grade, a high school championship, or college. When you lose, it hurts. And if it doesn't hurt, you're probably in the wrong business. You put all this effort into a game and you lose. You put all this effort into studying for a test, and for some reason you have a bad day. You don't put down what you know properly, and you don't get the grade you thought you were going to get. Nobody feels worse than Peyton Manning. But after a couple of days, as you reflect on how did I play, I played as well as I could play. That's the main thing you try to reconcile is did I do the best I can? And when you play great players, they can beat you. And the higher level you go, the worse they can beat you in a hurry. Okay, so even though Denver is the number one offense in the NFL this year, they hit the Seahawks. They make a few mistakes, and the Seahawks just rolled it up on them. And that can happen very quickly at the professional level. But Peyton Manning is still Peyton Manning, and he will deal with this. In fact, after the game, he made the statement that that we let our people down. But you could tell it didn't break his spirit. He's still there. And the Broncos will learn from this. And the great thing I believe in sports, especially in our youth, is there's no other arena today where you can get knocked down on the floor and, quote, embarrassed. And you got to come back from that. You can't walk away and say, I quit. Because if you say that, then you're not following our responsibility in our moral compass, because it's too important to quit. We pick it back up, you dust yourself off, you get your dignity back, and sports is a great way to build your self-respect and dignity. You respect your opponents, Hey, Manning said the Seahawks were better than we were today. And it's as simple as that. So you have to recover. You have to recover your composure and get back on your compass setting.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Langer. Let's go back to Westfield, Wisconsin. Go ahead.
If you could go back to when you were younger, would there be anything you would change?
If you go back to when you were younger, would there be anything you would change?
No, I don't. I can't see anything. I mean, there's probably some things I would, nothing major. I'm very fortunate. If you talk to any professional athlete or any successful person in business, every one of us at some point in that journey met somebody who grabbed them or somehow got through to them. You need to do this. You can't, don't shortcut this. And to me, becoming successful is a large part being in the right place at the right time, meeting the right person at the right time who gives you a bit of advice that maybe wasn't that important you thought at the time, but it later becomes very important. But the key is when that opportunity knocks or opens the door, you can't be somebody who has wasted years of time in not preparing to be the best they can be at that time. Because if you get the opportunity to play at the next level, it is very much a competitive tryout. The real world, when you get out in the real job market, it is very competitive. It is not, as one of the pillars said, fair all the time. I was told many times growing up, the world is not always fair. Okay, you can get knocked down. You can get mentally in a very tough way that you didn't get what you wanted, that you worked so hard for. You can have 3 or 4 people that are all very qualified wanting this one particular job and only one can have it. You have to prepare yourself for that. Life is a journey. You will have failures. So prepare yourself for the long haul, think long term, and understand it's not always going to work out. You pick yourself up and keep going.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's go from Westfield to Canton, Georgia. Or excuse me, yeah, Indianola. Go ahead.
We have a student coming. While playing football, was it as much as a mental challenge as a physical challenge?
Is it a mental and a physical?
No, as much of a mental as a physical challenge.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That's a good question. Football or any sport, it's very challenging mentally, especially in making the commitment to prepare yourself for the sport or the activity you're going to play in. The higher level you go, the more it becomes critical. Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I doing the right things? Is my regiment workout? Are you if the coach tells you this summer, young man, I want you to work on running a mile 3 times a week, say. Well, it's going to take your mental commitment to make yourself do that. You can't go out and say, okay, the first week you run your mile 3 times a day or 3 times a week. And after about 3 weeks, you start saying, I'm going to run a half mile today and I'll make it up on Wednesday. Mentally, you have to say, I'm going to stick to this regimen to get myself ready to play. And that goes back to your pillar. One of your pillars is your responsibility. Your responsibility is to follow those directions. You can't become a physical player to do anything properly if you don't mentally prepare yourself to be the physical person you need to be to play that sport. You understand? So if you want to play baseball, and you never go take batting practice, not just with the team. I'm talking about on your own, with your dad, your brother, the neighbor kids. If you aren't out there hitting the baseball on your own, you're probably not going to be very successful in baseball. Skaters, hockey players especially up here in Minnesota, as well as other places where they play a lot of hockey, these kids are skating hours and hours and hours on their own. So if that's what you want to be, you have to prepare yourself. If you want to be a doctor someday, if you want to be a teacher someday, a coach, you have to learn to spend the time learning, studying, reading, and pursuing that goal. Okay? So it takes a lot of mental preparation.
Thank you, Mr. Langer. And by the way, students, man, great. These are some awesome questions. So thank you very much. These are some very thought-provoking questions. Great job. Let's go to Rochester.
Did you ever feel like giving up during your football career?
Yeah, there's days when I had quite a few D operations, and it takes its physical toll, and you wonder if you aren't reaching the point where it's maybe time to do something else. But I was very fortunate to be around coaches like Don Shula, Monty Clark, who's now passed on, a lot of players like Bob Greasy and Larry Zonka, and that camaraderie that forms with your friends. You have that same situation. You pick each other up. And as they say, dust yourself off, and you go back and say, I'm still ready to go. But you're going to have doubts. You're going to have doubts if all of this pillars of success and the compass I believe in, once in a while it gets frustrating, and you see people who don't ascribe to these things, okay? They take the shortcuts. They cheat in class. They cheat. They don't do what they're supposed to do, and yet they may get better on a test than you did. That can be very discouraging, because you see people, even as you get into adult life, who take advantage of the system, who cheat the system, and you can't become one of those if, in fact, you're pointing in the right direction, and it's going to happen. I'll guarantee you. So you take care of your job. You take care of your mental condition. You keep watching your compass needle. It always catches up with people that take shortcuts and cheat the system. Okay? It always catches up with you. So don't go there. All right? You keep your compass pointing to do the right thing. Study hard. Be good to people, and good things will happen.
Thank you very much there, Rochester. Let's go to Idaho. Troy?
Okay. Go ahead.
Do you believe your hometown had an effect on your character now?
Did my hometown have an effect on me?
Yeah.
Very much so, because I had, even though it was a small town, nothing outrageously exciting went on in Royalton, Minnesota. It was, we went down to the river and we'd swim in the river and play with the turtles and go pick up baseball. But you know what I was surrounded with? I didn't realize it at the time, because they all looked like teachers and adults that you have in your town. But all the people I remember around me, teachers, coaches, were very dedicated professionals. They weren't fancy. They weren't famous. But you know what? They were good people, and they lived the pillars of the 6 characteristics that you're looking at on that sheet you have. That affects all of the young people growing up in that environment. You folks sitting in that classroom out there right now, somebody cares enough to say, we should make this available to our young people. That's a conscious decision. And it may not make any difference to you as you walk out of that building today, but maybe one thing you heard from somebody while you're listening to these things might resonate with you and might make a difference in your life. So it is very important who you're around as you grow up.
Most definitely. And I think what's really important, students, is you look who's around you. You know, in athletics, I don't want to say funny is a bad word for it, but I'll just say it anyways. It's funny that in athletics, if we have problems in a certain area, you know, we need to work on our foot speed or our strength or our hands or whatever, you know, or free throw shooting or whatever it might be, we have no problem going to our coach, who we know is an expert in that area, and saying, Coach, I need to work on this. Let's work on it. So, and you work on it. But for some reason, when it comes to in the classroom, we get this block that we don't want to ask questions and ask help because it's uncool or whatever. You know, we don't want to appear stupid or something like that. So what my point is that number one is that, you know, surrounding yourselves with positive people, as Mr. Langer has shared, but then two, you have to be willing to ask questions of those people too, knowing that those people are in your life to help you, and being willing to ask questions, and then take that information in, process it, and act upon it. You know, because most likely, more often than not, it's going to be positive information for the betterment of your future. And you know, but you also, not every adult that gives you advice means it's the right advice. You know, so that's why I say you have to process it first to make sure. But then after you process it, do you act upon it? Do you actually take that in and say, man, I'm going to apply that to my life? So I think you bring up some wonderful points there, Mr. Langer. Thank you very much. Let's go to South Park.
In your high school and college career, were there any other sports that you played that helped with your success? Did you hear that?
I played, yeah, I think I understood. Did I play any other sports? Was that the question that helped? Very much so. My small town, we had basketball, football, and baseball. And unfortunately, back in the early 60s, there was no sports for our girls. That came on in the 70s. But if you play football, if that's your life, if you like football, one of the best sports you can play to help your foot speed is basketball. Hockey players a lot of times will play baseball. I'm a big believer in, if you have some athletic ability and like to play sports, play more than one. I'm not really a big fan of sports specialization, and I know it's very easy to get into that, especially in the bigger schools. I mean, we have schools here in Minneapolis area, and I'm sure you have some in your area, where there's 800, 900 kids in a class. Over where I have my company, a town called Blaine, there's 850 kids play junior hockey, and there's 25 make the high school team. So you're talking about extreme competitiveness, and the problem. I shouldn't maybe use the word problem, but the very difficult thing for our young people to understand, and for parents to understand, is you spend 10, 15 years, countless hours, and you may not make the varsity team because the competition level is that high. And what I would say to those parents and to those youngsters who are heartbroken is the journey was worth it, because that is one of life's lessons. You did get something from that experience. You did the best you could, and you did something very few people going to high school do, and that is play any sport at a competitive level. Makes you pretty unique already. So it will help prepare you for life's tough bruises, and you go for it the best you can. And if it fails you a little, that's okay. You're still a winner. And the other thing I would encourage you to do, you're going to have people along the way, your peers. Why are you working that hard? Are you out of your mind? Why don't you come over and we're going downtown, hang out, and you got to go to practice. You have to prepare for the test. You have to have a grade point average or you can't play. Being an athlete or a successful person means you have to be prepared to say, no, I have something else to do. And you could be ridiculed. You may not be the most popular kid in your group, and I encourage you to understand that happens. You make the decision based on what's best for you. Funny thing that happens when you get out of high school and you get on to college or wherever your life travels take you, those people may not be very important anymore. You look after yourself, you know what you need to do, and if you get ridiculed a little bit, it won't be so bad. You do what you need to do and stay on course, okay?
Thank you very much. Let's, I see we got about 10 or 11 minutes left. We'll see how many if we can get through a few more questions and then closing remarks from Mr. Langer. Let's go to Westfield again.
How did you value education while growing up? Has that changed now that you are older?
Education was the most important thing. I was fortunate to have very good teachers, old school teachers. You have to understand, back in my day, if you didn't do your assignment properly, you might get wrapped across the knuckles with a ruler. You remember that too. But they wanted you to learn, okay? They wanted you to understand. I think sometimes we get too wound up in a test score or finish the book. Okay, you can read the book. Did you understand the book? Okay, did you understand the book? I've always encouraged our kids to don't just go through the material. Try to understand the material. There's a big difference. That takes responsibility on your part to do that. As you get through high school, middle school, high school, your education is just beginning, people. Today, more so than when I was your age, you have to become skilled, educated. I don't believe everybody is cut out to go to a four-year institution, but I think everybody today, with the technology that you young people have at your disposal and what's changing at light speed coming down the path, you need to get to learn a trade. You need to get well skilled in some particular facet of what's going on out there. If you don't, the world will not wait for you. Don't be one of those people, okay? My coach used to call them wool gatherers. They'd stand around and collect lint. You be one of those people that's going to say, I'm going to go out and learn where I fit in on this fast-changing globe we live today. There's opportunity all over the world today that didn't exist when I was young. So you get yourself trained. The most important thing in your life right now is education. And you do the best you can to learn as much as you can, okay? And you'll go far. You'll be successful. And one thing about successful guys and gals, success isn't measured by how much is in your bank account, okay? Or how big a car you have, or how big a house you have. Success can be, I'm content with my life. I'm content with my friends and my family. I've done the best I can most of the time. And you talk to people who have been very successful, celebrities, far bigger than myself. We just had a famous movie star overdose on heroin, all right? Now, he had all the money I'm sure you could possibly want. I'm sure he had very expensive friends, but there's a tragedy in there. You need to find your compass, and you need to stay to it and realize success is bigger than material things, all right? And you'll enjoy your life.
Great points there, Mr. Langer. Thank you very much. Let's go to Canton, Georgia.
When you played football, what was your routine for working out and staying fit every day?
Routine for working out and staying fit every day.
Oh boy, well, that covers a lot of ground. Training camp for us We practiced when Shula was coaching the Dolphins. We would start training camp much earlier than they do today. We would practice 4 times a day, many times. 2 in shorts, 2 in pads. It was a very strenuous. During the season, we had regular. The games themselves are very demanding. The average weight loss I would have, I weighed 265 pounds when I was playing. And some of you that, if you put that in perspective, my body fat in Florida was 3%. The most weight I lost in one game, we played the 49ers. It was 140 degrees on the field. I lost 25 pounds in 4 hours. To get yourself to be able to survive that, you have to push yourself beyond what you thought you could push yourself. And that takes what I refer to mental toughness. And mental toughness is not beating your head against the wall and screaming like a crazed man. Mental toughness is saying, you can apply it to anything you're doing. I'm going to finish this class, and I'm going to do what I need to do to finish it, and I'm going to shoot for an A, and I'm not going to rest till I find it, okay? And you can't let yourself be swayed from that. That is mental toughness. Mental toughness is, as I mentioned earlier, not going down with the other kids and saying, well, let's go down and play video games. Mental toughness is saying, what's my task at hand? What do I need to do to get it done? And then set about doing it. And shut out all of the distractions. One thing that the higher level you go with people in athletics, the higher the level you go, they become very focused. And what focused is they understand the task at hand, and they're not going to be deterred very easily. They aren't distracted. They stay on task. And you can do that right now. You be the best student you can be. If you're into athletics, that's wonderful. You practice hard. You listen to your coaches. And you don't cheat yourself. If you're supposed to do 10 push-ups, do 10 push-ups. Don't do 8. Okay? You're only cheating yourself. So you follow what the program is, and you stay on course, and you'll be very successful.
Okay, I see we have about 4 minutes left. Let's see if we can go to one more question from the last 3 groups, if we can get that in. Rochester, New York, go ahead.
Did anyone ever tell you that you couldn't make it?
Oh, yeah. Very good question. Yes. You're going to have people all along the way say, why are you doing this? You're putting all this work into it, and you're not going to make the team anyway. I heard that many times. I heard you're too small. You're not fast enough. You're not going to be drafted. Well, you're wasting your time for it. And I almost bought into that. This is a true story. I graduated from college, and I had an offer to go to Cleveland as a free agent, and I was scared, frankly, to death of failure. And I literally told my wife at the time, I'm wasting my time going here. This isn't going to work out. And my wife, of course, said, that's ridiculous. It's an opportunity. It's a lifetime opportunity. If you don't make it, who cares? It'll be an experience you'll never forget. And I still wasn't going to believe her. I ran into Gail Gillingham, who played for the Packers. He lived in Little Falls, Minnesota, near where I lived. And I called him up and I said, Gail, I want to talk to you. And I went up to talk to him, and he said, what's the problem? He says, I got a try out to go to Cleveland. I really don't think it's worth it. And he convinced me that if I didn't go, I was an idiot. And he said, what have you got to lose? He said, you'll do just fine. He said, these people don't walk on water. These people come from the same place you people are sitting out in them classrooms right now. somewhere in those classrooms that we've been communicating with this morning is the next major chemical breakthrough, medical breakthrough. There may be a professional athlete, there may be a Hall of Famer, there may be an Olympic athlete. Who knows what's out in those classrooms at this point. That's why you take every day and you do the best you can, because you don't know where you're headed yet. The only thing you know is you keep that compass arrow pointed in the right direction, and you'll come out of it okay, all right?
Thank you very much. Let's go to Troy, Idaho. Troy? Going once? Oh, there we go.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Jonathan. What is your favorite thing to do nowadays?
Jonathan, my favorite thing to do nowadays is get my son, Craig, my grandson, Max, who's 5, and get in my boat and go fishing.
That's awesome.
I've been fishing many times, ice fishing. That includes ice fishing with Max during the Super Bowl. A lot of times this year we didn't get to go out ice fishing on the Super Bowl, but I've done that many times. We have fish houses up here. So you go in a fish house, it's heated, and it's a very pleasant way for me to spend time.
Thank you very much, Troy. And for the last question of the program, we'll ask Mr. Langer with his closing remarks. South Park, go ahead.
Stand up. Go ahead. Okay. After your football career ended, did you pursue a different career?
Yes, actually, when I started playing in the NFL in 1970, a lot of us I had my degree. I had graduated from South Dakota State University. I had my degree in economics, and I started in the off season in banking in Florida, and did that for the 12 years pretty much I was playing in Florida, 10 years after I left football, and then moved on into the private business enterprise. But yeah, I never looked at football as the end of when I was done playing. That's all I was going to do. And of course, financially, back in that era, that wasn't possible. So I was very much ready to leave the NFL when it was time. Physically, I was physically unable to play anymore. Went into my post-football career without any challenges whatsoever. I look back at it as a wonderful experience. I was very blessed to be able to play in the NFL. I thoroughly enjoyed my teammates and everything about it. But the most important thing in my life right now, the biggest thing I'm proudest of, is my 4 children, what they have become, and how they have literally, as I looked at this list of the 6 pillars of character, they've all filled those out very nicely. And I'm most proud of that, of everything that's happened.
Mr. Langer, I know you shared a lot. I mean, number one, it's something that's going to stick in my mind, at least, and I think it'll resonate with students. I think it's going to stick in many of their minds as they visualize, think about good character as the moral compass, just always pointing north. And that's a great visual that I think we are all going to carry with us. Just a number of things that I wrote down about your mother being kind of the setter of the moral compass, and what I really liked, quote-wise, is the success. You know, a lot of times we define success as money and big house and big job and all that kind of stuff. But I've always thought this, but I've never really found the short, concise way to say it. And I love it. Is success is contentment with life. I mean, that's great. Is there anything you'd like to share to close out the program that you'll reiterate?
Well, I'll plagiarize somebody on that, and I can't think of the movie because I don't watch movies very often. But it was maybe Gene, you remember, it was Jack Palance. And it's the movie with Billy Crystal, and he's an urban guy, and he's out in the dude ranch.
City Slickers.
That's right.
And it was exactly what I'm trying to say is he asked the old Jack Palance, of course, is the old Marlboro smoking cowboy who speaks in very short sentences, but everything he says is really important. And he was making fun of Billy Crystal, what he stood for. You city slickers, you run around, you run your tail off, you chase money, you do everything. And he said, it's really comes down to one simple thing. And Billy, what is it? What is it? Because he was trying to find it. And he says, and he holds up his finger, and he says, you have to find it, what it is. It's one thing. And it's really that simple. And I've known very successful people that aren't happy at all. And I've known successful people that have no material things to speak of, but their life is contented. And I think you have to sometimes cut through all the clutter that people expect you to have to be successful. And that's really not it at all. It's really doing the most simple things are the most rewarding to me. And I think we all have to find that in our life. If it is, I want to achieve this particular job, I never had, in the wildest imagination, thought I'd be in the Hall of Fame. I almost passed out when I got the call that I wasn't even in the running. And, but you know, as important as it is to me to be part of that group, it doesn't define what's really important to me, and that is, you know, my wife and my family and my grandkids, and the potential they have to make their lives very meaningful, and they're good citizens, you know. And all the other stuff is, you know, I've done everything I wanted to do. I have no bucket list. Yeah, I really don't have a bucket list. And one of the most rewarding things I did in my life was the first time I soloed in an airplane. And it was extremely joyous to me because I love flying, but it was scary because now I have to bring this plane down. And I'm here all by myself. And you literally have your life in your hands. And that was something I had to face because I was fearing that. But it was one of the most exhilarating things I ever did. So life is all those experiences. But you have to look back and say, God, I missed out on something. That's why I don't have a bucket list. I don't, people, don't you want to travel? Not really. I just should go up to Mille Lacs and fish a muskie, you know. But that's just me.
That sounds perfect to me.
Yeah, but I enjoyed this conversation. This is really, I commend Canton. Of course, the people in Canton are great. All of you students out there, if you're still listening, if you ever get a chance or if you haven't been there, make it a point to go see the Hall of Fame. It's really a great museum and a great group of people that run that thing. And you can learn a lot of history there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Langer. Students, if you would unmute your microphones for a second and join me and give them a warm round of applause to